incredible improvements. He's become a good person. In fact, Eric himself talks about how he would like to help children that are struggling with anger issues or in a similar situation and need help. Very remorseful for what he did. It's easy to judge something like this, but when you were a kid, did you ever do something that you honestly look back at it and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, people can rehab themselves and become better. Maybe next time they can look at it and possibly consider letting him live a life, because life in prison is worse than death.
Today I'm going to be talking about the murder of Derrick Robie, or Robie. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the last name. Age 4, murdered by Eric M. Smith, age 13. Eric M. Smith is an American criminal incarcerated for the murder, sexual abuse, and manipulation of 4-year-old Derrick Robie on August 2nd, 1993 in Steuben County, New York. According to court documents, Smith was a loner, often tormented by bullies for his protruding, low-set ears, thick glasses, red hair, and freckles. The murder case made national headlines, largely due to the young ages of the killer, 13 years old, and the victim, 4 years old. Smith attracted Robie to a remote location. There, Smith strangled Robie, dropped a pair of large rocks on the boy's head, undressed the boy, and sodomized him with a tree limb. The cause of death was determined to be blunt trauma to the head, with contributing asphyxia. 2 days after Robie's funeral, Smith admitted to Robie's killing. In 1994, Smith was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to the maximum term then available for juvenile murderers, a minimum of 9 years to life in prison. Now you, the average viewer, might be saying to yourself, well, that's a fucking horrible situation. I'm glad the killer was caught. I'm glad he's in prison. He should be in prison, as he murdered and raped a 4-year-old boy with a fucking tree branch. But if you're Kendall Rae, your opinion might differ.
Everyone thought that this was some type of stranger that just lured him off on his way off the street. There was one boy, though, that claimed to have seen Derrick that day, and his name is Eric Smith. Eric was...
So, right off the bat, first red flag. Eric Smith, at this point in time, has just committed a murder. He is aware of the fact that he just committed a murder. He is aware of the fact that murder is illegal. For him to put himself, I know he is a 13-year-old and probably, doesn't have the same reasoning that an adult child murderer rapist would, but for him to put himself at the scene of the crime without any questioning already shows that he is proud of what he did. He wants recognition. He wants recognition.
13 at the time, and his story was that he was walking back from the summer camp actually that morning as Derrick was walking there. He claimed that he saw him with his lunchbox, described him and everything, but as investigators kept continuing to talk to him, they started noticing some serious weird flags. He actually went out and showed them where he was standing when he saw Derrick. It just wasn't...
Returning to the scene of the crime, anybody? Has anyone seen any 2-bit public cable crime TV show? He's returning to the scene of the crime because he's proud of what he did. He's reliving the memory. This is a very basic psychological principle that is in psychopaths.
Up, also asking really weird things of his family members about DNA and how they catch someone and what happens if a kid did it. Soon after that, Eric Smith...
See, that question right there, what happens if a kid did it? He is trying to see if it's worth admitting to it so he can get the recognition he so craves for the atrocity he committed. We haven't even gotten into everything that he did to Derrick yet. We haven't even scratched the surface of how horrendous this fucking crime is. He confessed that he killed Derrick. He asked what the consequences were for a child murderer because he wanted to know if he could come out and say that. And if he would be fine because of that. That's why he asked that question.
Smith actually confessed that he killed Derrick Robie. So basically what had happened is Eric went through a lot of in his life. He was just abused in his family. He was
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, that's not the actual situation that happened. She to be fair, I haven't showed it for the length of the video. She does do a good job of describing what happened. The murder, objectively, she does describe that. She does avoid the stick. She doesn't avoid this. She mentions the stick, but she does not mention that he sodomized Derrick with that stick. Yeah, he was bullied, guys. It wasn't his fault.
Bullied badly. He had almost no friends. He had these red hair, freckles, glasses. Just got.
Okay, and on the bullying point again, I'm going to bring up this quote. And before I quote this, I'm just going to preface this by saying all abuse is horrible and no abuse is justified. But let's get into the actual nature of his abuse. So, reflecting on his troubled childhood, Smith describes the intense pain he endured at the hands of bullies. So, after quite a few years of verbal abuse, not physical, not sexual, verbal abuse, and having been told that I'm nothing, I shut down my feelings so I wouldn't feel the emotional pain, which made me vulnerable and weak. But the damage was done. Yeah, the damage was done. I was bullied as a kid. I actually I've been physically bullied, not just, name calling as kids do. I'm sure everyone in the world who has gone to school has been called names. I'm sure he got it pretty bad. I've seen some kids get it pretty bad. I've seen some kids get it a lot worse than that. I've gotten it worse than that. And did I rape and murder a 4-year-old boy? No, I didn't. I did not. I have never considered such a horrendous thought would even cross my mind. So, but yeah, guys, they called him names. So it wasn't his fault, guys. It really wasn't his fault. And on the sexual abuse, which was a big question in the case due to the sexual nature of the crime, because of the sexual nature of his crime, the question of whether Smith was abused was repeatedly raised at trial, but repeatedly denied. However, there was testimony that Smith's older sister, Stacy, was sexually assaulted by their stepfather. Still, there was absolutely no evidence that anyone had sexually abused Eric. In fact, a decade later, Smith himself told the parole board there was no sexual abuse. So this is a major, major, major red flag. There are cases in children that commit these kind of crimes. Most of them were sexually abused before they committed the crime, and they did not get the proper help and treatment that they needed, and so they express that trauma in a super fucked up and unhealthy way, which leads into crimes like this. But this, he had, and a lot of the times, the child who had been previously traumatized, who's committing a crime, will reenact what had been done to them, which you'll see in some cases where there's sexual assault among minors. But this is a huge indication that this is, especially with his age 13 and puberty and everything, that he is literally developing a domination, humiliation, rape fetish. And that is very clear by this information.
Totally picked on. His family talks about how he had anger problems. In fact, his dad actually explains that he told Eric to punch things when he got angry.
Yeah, it was his dad's fault because he told him to punch things. Let us go back and revisit the crime, shall we? Shall we take a look at the crime? There, Smith strangled Robbie dropped a pair of large rocks on the boy's head, undressed his body, and sodomized him with a tree limb. I didn't see the word punch in there. I don't think he punched him at all. These all seem like very clear attempts to take a life, not take anger out by hitting. This is an attempt at someone's life. Strangulation is I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to kill you.
Derrick asked for help with anger. His father did not seem equipped to give it to him.
When he was kicked out of the camp, he was angry. He didn't know how to deal with his anger, and his dad literally taught him to punch things. He decided to lure little Derrick, remember.
Okay, so now she's trying to portray the situation as if, okay, so he was angry, he got kicked out of camp, so he decided in a fit of rage to kill and rape a 4-year-old boy. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but just saying that out loud is like, I'm getting sidetracked. The fact that she says it too, lure, the word lure, the fact that he lured him away from other people shows that this is not a reactionary instance. This is a premeditated instance. There are also reports of family members, community members in the neighborhood seeing Eric patrol frequently around alone on his bike in sketchy backwoods areas, as well as he killed a neighbor's cat. This was just a prime opportunity for him to enact his psychotic mind. It was clearly premeditated. He clearly knew he was doing something wrong, because the other argument they try to make is that he was unaware of the implications of his actions. But that's not true, because the fact that he lured him away from people knows that he knew fully well that he was doing something fucked up.
He's 13. Derrick's just shy of 5. He lured him off of the track. He said that he had a shortcut to get there. He actually
lied to him too. Told a lie to manipulate Derrick into getting him where he wanted to be so he could do what he wanted to him. This is not a random act of rage. This is a meticulous crime.
strangled him with a stick, brutally beat his body with rocks. He said that he panicked and he wanted to make sure that he was dead, so he used the stick to make sure his heart had stopped.
Yeah. What did he do? What did he do with that stick? Exactly. I want to hear you say. I want to hear you say what he did with that stick. You won't. And I wonder why you won't. Because just about every article I find on this says in graphic detail what he did with that stick. But why won't you? Definitely not because you have a hidden agenda.
So just very odd thinking. So obviously we're dealing with someone who is mentally ill, right? And people were shocked. Like when it came out that, okay, so a 13-year-old kid killed Derrick. He didn't even know Derrick. It was literally just bad timing. Derrick just happened to be there and he was mad. The community...
Literally just bad timing, guys. Nothing you could do. Nothing you could do. Derrick happened to be there. Bad timing. He shouldn't have been there. Fucking Derrick. Fuck you, Kendall Rae. What are you getting out of this? Fucking shitting on a poor dead boy's soul. Fuck. Wrong place, wrong time. Get the fuck out of here. If anything, that's worse. It would be one thing if he had killed one of his, if Eric had killed one of his bullies. It is completely worse that it was a random child he had no connection to. This means he had one intended goal: to end a life, not like a specific life, just any life.
They had really gathered behind the Robies at the time. They, put on their funeral, they paid for it. Their lives will never be the same. We still have the fact that Eric is a kid, and he's a kid who has mental problems, who has been abused. His sister claims that she was sexually abused by their stepfather and thinks that Eric was as well, but a lot of the...
Yeah, so again, she's selecting information. She chooses to cite the sister's claims of sexual abuse towards her brother, but not her brother's own claims of not being sexually abused to this day. He has remained solid on that. And I don't think he would lie about something like that, because look at how open he's been with everything else. He confessed to the murder 2 days later. He's been pretty honest.
Abuse Eric refuses to talk about even to this day. And one of the main reasons that this was taken,
he doesn't refuse to talk about it. He flat out denies it
so seriously, is that Eric actually killed a neighbor's cat. And one thing that repeatedly they see with serial killers is they kill animals as children. It's like a major warning sign. Should he ever be given the chance to redeem himself and be
no
led back into society, that's where the controversy comes in. Should he be released on parole? Eric was
no
tried as an adult. He was only 13 at the time, and he was sentenced to 9 years to life with the possibility of parole. At first, he was in juvenile prison until 2001, where he was moved to adult Real County prison. Obviously, it's been over 9 years. He has now been denied parole 8 times.
Good.
Every time that this comes around, though, the people in that area write to the parole board and ask them not to release him. Especially his parents. They are absolutely against the idea of him ever being released. And when you listen to how he has changed, the people that actually work directly with him say that he's made incredible improvements. He's become a good person. In fact, Eric himself talks about how he would like to help children that are struggling with anger issues or in a similar situation and need help. Very remorseful.
Yeah, let's let him work with kids. You're fucking brilliant, Kendall. Really. It's not funny. I'm sorry I'm laughing. It's just, the insanity is just baffling to me. Baffling. So this is another big argument she makes here, is that he's sorry. That's her whole argument. He's sorry, guys. He's sorry. So let's get into a little bit more of this horrible accident as Kendall Rae is portraying it. When looking through the court documents, there's a lot of interesting information about Eric's actions in the crime. A lot of the specifics are interesting. He went into Derrick's lunch bag and he smashed a banana and took Derrick's Kool-Aid that he actually poured the Kool-Aid into the blood that had been made by the large rocks inside his skull. Then he proceeded to sodomize Derrick with a small stick he had found. If that doesn't scream humiliation, domination, rape fetish, I don't know what does. He has no prior sexual trauma. This is manifesting out of his brain. This is manifesting naturally in his brain. These thoughts are just naturally in his brain. This person is not fit to live in society. Another weird part, according to Wood, the killer, Wood was one of the crime scene detectives. The killer then arranged his body. The left sneaker had been removed and was lying near Derrick's right hand, and his right sneaker had been removed and was lying near Derrick's left hand. It almost looked like the body had been posed in that position. He thought it was funny. He thought what he did was funny. Eric continued to deal with Derrick's body because he wanted to, says Tooney, who is the lead prosecutor, because he chose to, and most frighteningly, because he enjoyed it. Defense psychiatrist Dr. Stephen Herman diagnosed Smith with intermittent explosive disorder, uncontrollable rage. Literally deadly rage and anger, said Herman. After the episodic rage, the child may appear to be normal. But the prosecution's expert said it was a rare disorder that was rarely seen at Smith's age. Smith was subjected to extensive medical testing from specialists from both sides. They examined brain function, hormone levels, and found nothing to explain his violent behavior. But Dr. Herman still believed there was something wrong. Something happened to his brain, but we can't measure it. Yeah, compelling argument, doctor. Smith's mother, Tammy, said she took a drug to control her epilepsy while she was pregnant with Eric, the drug Tridion that can cause birth defects. Herman says he's not suggesting that the drug would have caused Eric to be violent, but he does believe the drug caused Smith's ears to be low set and caused his developmental delays, which profoundly affected his self-esteem. He says that Smith's pain and rage overwhelmed him. This stage of the trial is all like, are there issues with Eric? Are there problems? Tooney says, sure, but it doesn't regularly produce killers. Did he know he was strangling Derrick, that he was strangling a child, a person? Yes. If he knew he was doing, if he knew what he was doing, what was wrong, which he did, by the indication that he lured him away from other people, as well as asked about, criminal findings on child murders, that he should not have been doing it, then he can have every psychiatric problem in the world, and he's still responsible for what he did under the law. And I agree with Tooney's quote there. But throughout his trial, Smith's face was eerily blank. He showed no emotion and expressed no remorse during the trial. I don't ever recall him saying he was sorry that he killed the boy, said Ted Smith. I'll repeat that. I don't ever recall him saying that he was sorry that he killed the boy. The kid's a clear-cut serial killer. I don't know what else to tell you. I've laid out very specific details of the case for you that Kendall Rae here has specifically chosen to hide. I don't know why she is choosing to defend a child rapist murderer and wants him to be free. If she genuinely believes that he feels bad about what he did and has changed for the better, he has not. It is clear when someone does something wrong that they believe in their pure morals. When you do something wrong and you know you violated your morals, you feel that remorse immediately. You feel that regret immediately. You know you fucked up. You say sorry. Whatever. Okay. He obviously did not understand at 13 the consequences that his actions had on his own life. And now that he's like, oh shit, I've been denied parole 8 times, I better start, acting the way that now I know they want me to act, because I've had this experience and now I know how people react to this, and I know what people want out of me so I can be reintegrated back into society. It's a clear-cut manipulation. And the icing on the cake is that he's saying he wants to work with kids. What an arrogant fucking prick. Could you imagine if this works? Unbelievable.
For what he did. It's easy to judge something like this, but when you were a kid, did you ever do something that you honestly look back at it and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, what was I doing that is so bizarre, that was so unlike me? I don't even barely remember it. I was almost blacked out at the time. I personally...
What? Yeah, just kids being kids, when you're kids, you fucking spill the milk, and, sometimes it happens. And kids fuck up. Sometimes your kid will go off and murder and rape and fucking pose another boy. A 4-year-old. That's another thing, a 4-year-old. He picked an easy target. He was going for a kill. He wanted a kill. Oh, but yeah, kids being kids. What was I thinking? The kids are the craziest things. They're crazy kids.
What was I thinking? Like, what was I doing that is so bizarre, that was so unlike me? I don't even barely remember it. I was almost blacked out at the time. I personally believe in forgiveness.
The only thing I believe is that you were blacking out at 13.
I believe that people can rehab themselves and become better. Maybe next time they can look at it and possibly consider letting him live a life, because life in prison is worse than death.
You know what's worse than life in prison? Being raped and murdered The end.